Good day, everybody. And Dr. V, can you believe it? They did it again. They have discovered, they finally did it. They found this one thing that we've been looking for forever that is going to extend our lives another 10 to 15 years. So we should all run out tomorrow and buy bottles of this and start drinking it by the gallon. What do you think? We're excited to tell everybody about the new discoveries that are being brought back from the old. Hey, everybody, this is Truth or Trend. Dr. Verzal and I have found the fountain of youth for all of you. And we're.
Can you tell?
By the way, it's Dr. B's birthday today,
Ah!
everybody. And yeah, we're going to do a little slow drip campaign on the truths that we discover of longevity and youth.
Right.
But as they come out, we want to make sure that we're here to help take another look at it, right? And say, hey, is this truly, is this what we've been waiting for? Did we need to, like we looked at that other product where, you had to, harvest jellyfish to get this specific piece. Is this something that is this miracle that everybody's saying, or is it something that's actually something we're eating already and we can just do more of it? All right, this is Truth or Trend, episode 48, Dr. V.
Woo, there we
48.
go.
Yeah, let's talk about longevity. We had an interesting discussion before we started on longevity. Uh,
Right.
I want to hear in the comments out there, how old do you think we're supposed to live, right? What is the limits of this
Right.
human machine that we're living in, and how do we achieve the maximum amount? Dr. V, tell them your theory. I like your theory. Let's just lean into that real quick.
Well, I think it comes back to just like the conclusion Solomon finally made at the end of his life, vanity, vanity, it's all vanity, right?
Yeah,
And nothing new under the sun. And
right.
ultimately, I came out of the bodybuilding arena, and I remember in my gym rat days, it was every week it was, the next best thing to steroids, and now it's the next best thing to GLP, this herb, this vitamin is, the GLP alternative. And, it's always something, it's always sin is kind of where you're trying to bring the conversation back to, but it's people trying to profit to make these patentable entities that ultimately are derived from food. They're derived from an herb or something like we just like we're about to discuss. I mean, this is something that's been in supplements that we've been using for decades. And now somebody's pulled out a minutia little, minute little piece and saying this is going to help you live forever. It's a great way to sell supplements, right? Because they're going to
Right.
take them forever because they want to, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's marketing. Ultimately, it comes down to we want everybody wants the fountain of youth, and heaven is the is eternity. That's how we're going to live forever, right? Do what you got to do to get there.
Well, you did make, I mean, not to get too, in the
Yeah,
weeds here, but from religious, but I mean, you kind of equated sin to doing something against your body, right? Doing something that
right,
will harm yourself, I think
right,
is a really elegant way to say what sin is. And people don't, I mean, there are people who are unknowingly doing it, and then there are people who
right,
are knowingly doing it. And I think
right.
the less we do those things that are harming ourselves, we do get closer to whatever that potential is of how long we're supposed to be.
100%. And then the other part of that was the sin of the we call it big box manufacturers of the
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals that are making these products that are for a profit that are not necessarily in our best interest to consume. You
Right.
use the Oreo example,
Mm,
you,
mm,
you know eating an Oreo is not good for you. The people making it know it's not good for you. But it tastes good for a second, but
sure.
what
Yeah.
are the consequences? Always count the cost. Let's use that as a theme.
Right.
Always count the cost. Mhm.
Well, so when it comes to longevity, we talked about Brian Johnson, right? This guy who
Mhm.
thinks that he's going to live forever. He's doing everything he can to figure out how to be immortal. His whole thing is
Mhm.
don't die, right? And I think
Right.
it's an interesting experiment, and I love that he has the means to kind of give us some interesting information. But I recall many times growing up, my parents saying to me, "Oh, well, the genetic potential of humans is actually 120 to 140," and I was like, "Where are you guys getting this, right? Like, where's
Right.
it from?" And you can find references, biblically that do say a lot of things like that. So I don't want to get into the huge weeds in that, but clearly, I think that it shouldn't be as unnatural for people to be able to live to 120 years. That's kind of
Mhm.
where I'm thinking.
Mhm.
And I think that a lot of people who are listening and out there want to know what they can do to maximize not only how long they're on this planet, but how well they feel, right?
Right.
That time. So when they see an advertisement like this, here, I'm going to share the screen here. of what this newsroom is giving us in China, right? Natural anti-aging compound found in grape seeds with lifespan extending effects, right?
Right.
A lot of people are going to rush out there and they're going to buy it and they're going to bring it into our offices. And they're going to go, hey, what do you think of this, right?
Right.
And they're going to say, I don't really notice anything. I don't really feel anything, because you don't. When you're looking at things that are longevity, it's not necessarily you're going to take it and go, wow,
Right.
I'm Dr. V again, right? I'm back to my 100%.
Way to set the standard low.
But let's give people a little guidance on what they're talking about here, right? So they're talking
Totally.
specifically about this procyanidin C1. And as we're looking at this, basically it's talking about senescent cells. So these older cells that need to be recycled, right? We do need to have a life and death cycle in our body. If we're
Out with the old, in with the new.
That's exactly. If we're building 330 billion new cells every day, we need to get rid of 330 old cells, right? So that's part of the process. But they say that these ones that they're kind of old, but they're not ready to go, or they're hanging on or something. They have paracrine and endocrine signals that are causing local tissue dysfunction. And they're talking about how this procyanidin, helps with the apoptosis. It moves along, right? It gets these old cells to check out and say goodbye. But so they're saying they've already done it in mice. That's the interesting thing here. A lot more research coming out. Apparently, there was a hot mic from China that the Russian and Chinese leaders were saying that 150 years old is how people should be living. So, there's interesting research all around the world on this. But when we looked at this procyanidins, yes, of course, now we realize this is something that you and I have learned about a long time ago, but we just don't talk about it on a daily basis because we've integrated it in many ways into people's lives.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you have reached for, the products that we're going to talk about that we've just, that we know have these procyanidins in? What are other reasons, right, that we would be integrating those into people's lives other than saying, hey, you want to live to 150? Here you go.
Right. So, excuse me, let's talk about, antioxidant deficiency, right? And ultimately antioxidants come from vegetables, your bright colored fruits and vegetables. Vitamin C, right, is in your pineapple and oranges and so on.
Yeah.
So that is anti-aging because it talked about apoptosis, which means cell death, killing the old cells that are not helping anymore. Again, cancer is those cells mutating and replicating in an inappropriate way, and then we end up with tumors and the big ugly stuff. So antioxidants do truly help that. I mean, that's another way. Certainly it's going to help us to live a lot longer if we don't get cancer. So what can we do to prevent that? The antioxidants are a lot of that protocol and driving phase one, phase one detoxification in liver. When that runs amok, that is aging, that is rusting out, if you will, where we're killing cells, too rapidly and mutating them. So that's a biggie. We want to keep the body aging, functioning properly, regenerating the old, dysfunctional cells with healthy, young, vibrant cells. Some of the signs we should, we have a lot of, doctors and general public that are watching this. The signs of antioxidant deficiency or the need for oxygen ultimately is, wanting to open the windows or frequent sighing or yawning. These are signs that you could use something like these, procyanidins that are going to help the body handle oxygen better. Altitude sickness. When I go to Mammoth or places like this where, for mountain biking events or, skiing or any of that, I take antioxidants with us, then friends, family that, start getting those altitude headaches. These products like we're about to talk about, Cataplex ACP is actually one that I would use a lot. OPC Synergy is another one. And these things work really well to help minimize or mitigate the altitude sickness. One of my favorite stories of altitude sickness, we were similar to this. We were coming down from Mount Whitney, the highest mountain in the contiguous U.S., hiking back down the hill, and this gal was on the side of the trail, convulsing and couldn't walk or move. And I gave her 3 Cataplex ACP. I said, "Here, chew these up." She chewed them up, stood up. Okay, and she walked down the rest of the hill with us.
Wow.
We made a new friend.
Yeah, see, it's amazing when you're at that point, you can see how quickly it can work, right? But when it's in a longevity thing, you're not going to notice that, but that's awesome.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's why we want to know these petty little symptoms. I mean, yeah, they're sighing, wanting the windows open, feeling oxygen starved. It seems like a petty thing, but it's a sign, like a
Yeah.
headache, it's your body trying to tell you, hey, something should change. Eat your
Right.
vegetables.
Well, let's take a
So,
look. You mentioned OPC. Let's take a look at the ingredients in there, right? Because this is what we're
mhm,
talking about. Oh, hey, look at that. Standard process is putting buckwheat in a product. That's weird. Uh,
mhm.
the
Wouldn't you
top two
know?
things are buckwheat and then buckwheat. Yeah, the juice powder and the aerial parts. But look at this. Green tea is the third ingredient in there. I've become, we all know that green tea is good for us, but sometimes we forget all the hows and the whys and the whats. One of the reasons that I have become even more fascinated with green tea is because of sleep. A lot of people in their sleep stacks are putting L-theanine, right? That's a big thing that they're looking for. Well, if you look into what foods are going to give you the best source of that, green tea is at the top of that list right there.
Right.
So there's so many different things for that.
And that L-theanine mitigates the consequences of caffeine. So there's a reason it's in there with the caffeine in the green tea, right?
right.
And so that's part of the reason coffee, I recommend green tea consumption if a person's detoxing off of coffee. It'll help mitigate those headaches or migraines that somebody might get on the withdrawal symptoms. Mhm.
Are you ready for my new hack? Did I tell you this hack? This is my
Oh,
crazy hack.
we
Okay,
got a
I
hack.
do like coffee, right? There's a lot of great things for coffee. I've actually started brewing green tea and using that tea to brew my coffee. So I'm getting green tea while I'm drinking my coffee. Let me tell you,
There
try
it
it out. If you're a coffee drinker,
is.
it's really
Doub-
good.
Doubling up on the caffeine.
Well, the coffee I drink is only one third caffeinated. Okay, so
Okay.
it's an interesting combination. But anyway, we digress.
We
But then we've got this
digress.
grape seed extract. Okay, that's what we're talking about, right? Now, the standard process products don't get into how much procyanidins are in there, but grapeseed is pretty high on this list. And then bilberry, as we all know, is the herb for eyes, right? That's
Right.
what it's known
Eyes
for.
and kidney.
Mhm.
Mm.
And then we got green tea leaf extract again down here. We had the powder and then the leaf extract and then grape extract again. So I
Mhm.
can see why you're reaching for OPC synergy quite a bit. Number one, right, provides ingredients with antioxidant activity. That's what you're just talking about right there.
Right.
And these are
Right.
pretty powerful out of
Mhm.
all those. But what we were talking about now, this is just for a lot of those practitioners out there who are familiar with these products, is the product Herba Vital has actually been saying how much of these components are in there, the procyanidins, for a very long time. And I'll never forget, I used to listen to Kerry Bone. Kerry Bone's a really well-known herbalist. For those of you who don't know who he is, one of the best in the world, written many books on it.
Right.
When I first heard about this, he formulated this and he called this his breakfast: Herbavital, Vitanox, and Echinacea. That was his breakfast. Is that he called it in this? And so now, the more I look at this, the more I realize it. And what's crazy is that they've got these companies coming out now just with this one little piece in here, right? Saying, "Hey, this is going to extend your life forever." But then we've got all these other wonderful things that they've already known to blend in there. As you said, it's nothing's new under the sun, right? We're just rediscovering
Right.
a lot of these things.
Well, and so the patent process, it has to be something that's not found in nature to be able to patent it, right?
Right.
And so,
Yeah.
I mean, most of the pharmaceutical agents that people are, exposed to or consuming originally were a grapeseed,
Yeah.
and somebody realized that, hey, grapeseed helps. So what is the active ingredient in there per se? And then they, extrapolated down to just that ingredient and then they can patent it so that they have something new under the sun.
Right.
And then it turns out that there's side effects when we don't get it in the way that it is like in herbs as in nature with these other things like the L-theanine, drink
Right.
green tea, drink the herbs with the theanine and the caffeine in there, much less prone to have a headache or have withdrawal symptoms,
Right.
as opposed to taking a Red Bull or something that has, is loaded with caffeine that doesn't have the, caffeine as it's found in nature.
That's such a great point. And I don't think we could ever go have an episode without bringing that point up because people do this. They constantly reduce it down to the one active thing, and then they push it and push it and push it, and then they get themselves in trouble. I was
Right.
listening to this neurologist who obviously she's done a lot of study. She's spending a lot of time trying to know everything about sleep. She's qualified as a sleep expert, let's put it that way. And for her, it was all vitamin D. Everything's vitamin D, right? Everybody's got to get their vitamin D between 60 and 80. She did all this clinical research showing that if they kept it between 60 and 80, their sleep was maximized in her group for 2 years. And then all of a sudden the wheels fell off.
Ah.
Because she was looking at just one tiny little piece, right? And in
Right.
this recording, I'm hearing her have this aha discovery about vitamin B's, right? So, and then the next thing she's talking about is, oh, it's pantothenic acid. That's it. And now I'm just waiting 2 more years for the wheels to fall off of that,
Exactly.
because she just keeps trying to be a chemist with this. And like you just said, when it comes to nature, there's all these other things that we don't even know are in there yet that are helping bring balance to it. For
Right.
sure.
Right.
Thanks for letting me go on that story there, man. I'm getting all fired up. So,
Ah.
but you also mentioned drinking red wine. You mentioned resveratrol, right?
Right.
So, as we were talking about it, that you'll notice that that's one of the other top things that are in Herbavital. Tell us about red wine. Tell us about why, people have thought that that's a good thing, despite all the glyphosates and everything that are in American red wine.
Right. If it was clean, right. If it was back to nature, right.
Right.
This resveratrol is an anti-aging, so-called anti-aging because it helps with the, preventing oxidation, which is it kills cells ultimately, that mutates cells. And so it is, again, it's about the proliferation of healthy, vibrant cells and getting rid of the old. I mean, that's part of, fasting, and, is part of that stimulating the apoptosis and the AMPK pathways to, regenerate healthy tissue and kill the old bad cells. So, I mean, there's something to a break. You talked about you finally took a little time and took a little
Yeah.
break. I mean, we need those. I mean, God, even God took a break on the seventh day, right?
Right.
So
Yes.
if he needs a rest, our cells certainly do, And so keeping the mitochondria functioning, keeping the body optimized. I mean, the brain and the heart are the most mitochondrial dense. So a lot of these things we talk about on pretty much every episode, ultimately, it
Yeah.
tends to come back to the mitochondria. But those are key areas when energy starts going down, we're going to feel it in the heart. We're going to feel it in the brain, brain fog. That's a sign that there's probably toxins. There's probably a deficiency of these, antioxidants like the procyanidin that
Mhm.
are setting us up for aging ultimately, if that's your motivation.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's just it. People are looking for the anti-aging thing, and people are going to be looking for this. And I think part of the reason we wanted to bring this up is that if somebody does ask you about the grape seed, say, yeah, there's some value there. But if you're going to do it, you might as well do it in a way that, is going to give you multiple benefits. Is if you're going to spend and invest in it. Now, to be clear, we're not sponsored by this company at all, right? This is just a company that we have seen work for so long, and we know of the value of it. But can you think of a reason why it would be a bad idea for someone to take something like this combination of Japanese knotweed for the resveratrol, milk thistle seed, Korean ginseng, grape seed, and ginkgo leaf, if they're trying to maintain that antioxidant support and there are all of these elements in there? Is this something that you think is Carrybone making a mistake by taking this every day? I guess is my question for you.
Right, and that is a great question, and really it comes back to, the way somebody could get into trouble is taking a synthetic antioxidant that can overdrive that P450, that first phase of detoxification. And so when phase one detox runs amok and those toxins don't get detoxed through phase two, in other words, phase one makes them water soluble, and then they go through and get broken down further in the phase two. When that doesn't work properly, we have all these free radicals. It's free radical damage. And that is what sets up malignancies ultimately. That's what ages us. That's what causes the skin to get, wrinkled and the eyes to get less vital. We don't handle oxygen well, and we lose energy. We have brain fog. I mean, those are all potential signs that this pathway is run amok. And so learn from those. Again, do these nutrients as God has intended, and you're a whole lot less likely to get into trouble. Whereas if you do the synthetic alternatives, it's a lot. And I've done it. I mean, I'm a performance junkie, for sure. 100%, and so 120%, and
Yeah.
so I'm prone to do this sort of stuff too. But I mean, it comes back to what is natural, what is appropriate. Uh, take it as the complete complex. Vitamin E, I mean, fits into this category where
Mhm.
people take vitamin E and then they end up with low back pain or some of these vascular problems. Whereas if they, take the wheat germ oil that has vitamin E and has the lecithin, has the selenium and so on that helps work with it, is synergistic. Eat the
Mm.
nuts and seeds. Uh, raw, then we're in a much better place.
Well, and I think also on that vein, what you're saying is I would caution people against just taking this every day. Say they take every vital a day, but if you're not giving yourself all the essential nutrients to do the repairs, you're not going to get the results you're hoping to get from this, right? It may help with some of that, but there's so much other chemistry that your body requires to function, right? Essential nutrients, essential vitamins and minerals. Like you said, if that phase 1 or phase 2 detox isn't supported by all of those minerals, then you're really not going to get that great of a benefit from taking something like this. You have to have all the other things. Would you agree with that?
Truly, yeah, and that balance, all about balance.
Exactly,
For
exactly.
sure.
Have
It's
you
kind of
tested yourself for this? Do you use this? I mean, you're breathing in a
do
lot of bad air out there. Okay, is this
right,
something you
yeah.
come back to regularly? Is Herbovital and OPC synergy or?
Typically, I mean, for me, breathing car exhaust, as you brought up, is Resco is often what I would use in that case.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I use Vitanox often. I use bilberry to keep the eyes, as you appropriately brought out the fact I just had another today have another birthday, so I'm so got to keep an eye on the eyes.
Right?
Because I still like the fact that my vision's pretty good.
Yeah.
So in Bilberry, I can feel a tangible difference in my vision. Vitanox is another one. I can see it. I have a lot of patients that have I say one a day is great, and they're like, no, two a day is even better. My eyes are great. So yeah, there's definitely some value to the eyes are the window of the soul. Keep the
Yeah.
vision working. Mhm.
Yeah. When now, as a muscle tester, where are you going to muscle test for somebody to determine a need for something like Vitanox, OPC synergy, or
So
the Herbovital?
in the supraclavicular notch, is on the left side is an antioxidant point, reflex point, and so we'll use that. P450 is that spleen 27, spleen. What is that? Spleen 27, and right where the elbow meets the side on the right,
Mm-hmm.
that is the spleen, is the P450 pathway. On
Mm-hmm.
the left side, it's the spleen pathway. So those are the two kind of oxygen dependent areas. So for overdriving to taking, for taking a antioxidant that doesn't work so well, that P450 pathway is going to get more tender. It's going to show active and positive, which crazy is taking an antioxidant could actually set the stage for cancer. I mean, that's pretty, mind blowing, but
Can you walk
that
us
is
through that honestly and talk? What are some examples of some bad ones that you found that like the thing that this person that needed the most was to stop taking this quote
right.
bad
Yeah,
piece.
yeah, vitamin C. I mean, if you take synthetic vitamin C, then we're missing a lot of the other minerals that need to go along with it.
If it's
As
just
you know,
ascorbic acid, is what you're saying.
if it's
Just
just
yeah,
ascorbic acid, yeah,
right,
go eat the stinking pineapple. It's not that difficult.
right.
Yes, I mean, there's been times in short duration if somebody's has a cold and they need to break that stuff down, they need to drive some of the pathways, the glutathione and so on. Glutathione is very antioxidant dependent, so that's a part of the reason people are deficient in glutathione, for example, key pathway in phase 2. Then when glutathione is not functioning, we get mucusy, right? Think of all the garbage that goes along with the cold flu thing. And so that is very antioxidant dependent to reduce technically the glutathione. So that's where it comes in valuable. And sometimes there's a short-term need to, pop somebody out of it, but it's the person that takes 3,000, because Linus Pauling took 10,000 IUs a day, or, vitamin C, then hey, that's good for me. And then they end up putting a lot of stress on the kidneys and the liver.
Right. Yeah. Oh man, good points. Okay. So, if you guys have any more questions about this, please drop them below. We want to make sure that we're uncovering all of this. But I think the greatest takeaway always is like you're just saying, find a whole food version of it or find a version of it that you know that is good quality. You're going to see a lot of marketing coming out about these things, and the temptation of your patient populations or as you as an individual, maybe I want to click, right? I'm going to click that and buy it right now, get it shipped over here. But there's probably a better way to do it and make
Mhm.
sure that you're getting the whole enchilada instead of just
Yeah.
the antioxidant
Mm-hmm.
shell, right, of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, Dr. B, I know it's your birthday. And everybody, just so you know, we're recording this as of January 26th. So if anybody wants to send him a gift in the mail, buy his book as a birthday gift to
There we
Dr.
go.
V. Well, it's the
Right.
gift that keeps on giving all year round. It's showing other people.
The headache
Okay.
advantage.
That's right. The headache advantage for those of you,
Mhm.
which is a big piece, right, of headaches is reducing that kind of stress as well for a lot of
Mhm.
people. All
Mhm.
right. Well, we'll cut it short so you can get on to your celebrating of yourself. But do you have any last thoughts that you want to share with everybody before we do so?
Yeah, learn from what your body's trying to tell you. You know, pay attention to how you feel, what functions, what appreciates or what improves or depreciates when you take these nutrients,
Yeah.
right? Your body will let you know if it's working or if it's hurting.
And stop sinning, for goodness sake, right? It's aging you prematurely.
The fountain of youth.
There you
Sin
go.
less.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.